welcome to the Shelly Studio. I was going to call this video Inspired By and share a link, but I'm not sure exactly who and how it was inspired by. I think that might become a new series. But I saw somebody working with some, I believe this is Tim Holtz scrapbook paper. They did not do this to it, but I saw this piece on another video and I'm like, I think I have that scrapbook paper. And I was like, I wonder how it would work for Mamagami. So Mamagami is kneaded paper, so that's what I'm doing. I'm putting lotion on my hands and kneading this paper. This did not go as I had hoped. So I don't know. I've only done it with oil before and never done it with lotion. And I don't think I've done this stiff of cardstock when I've kneaded it. And I don't think it took it very well. Like, I was trying to be very careful as I crumpled it up and squished it around and tried to keep lotion on my hands. In fact, there's a part that you don't see where I do start doing oil just to help make it a little bit more supple. Mamagami's kneaded paper with oil, and it's supposed to give it like a cloth-like feel. Mine never did get to that point. I probably could have kneaded it longer, but it was starting to tear in places, so I figured I should probably stop. You can see there's a few places. So because I was getting big tears, I'm like, well, how can I save this piece of paper? So I decided, after I've kneaded it for a while, I decided I will flatten it back out. And you can see in the bottom left there, big tear. I'll flatten it back out and I will coat it with matte medium, and that will glue all the broken pieces back together. Of course, that totally destroys the fabric-y feel. I did iron it. Sorry, my iron's right there. I ironed it nice and flat to get all the wrinkles out and make it nice and smooth before I did a layer of matte medium. Maybe gloss medium would have been better. Like, because matte medium has a real rough sort of coarse texture when it's dry. It's good for putting on to a project if you want to, say, do colored pencil over the top. I don't have any clear gesso, so I can't compare, but it's probably not as gritty as clear gesso. But I did this to seal up the tears, and this does work to seal those tears. But it, like I said, it totally changes the structure of the paper, so it's no longer like fabric. It's like this stiff collaged something. Anyway, so while I'm putting that on, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. Everything's going pretty good here. Yeah, just waiting. We've been dealing with roof issues and just waiting on, the roofers have ordered I guess the shingles and the wood needed to fix our roof, so that's going okay. We'll see when they actually come to replace the roof. That will be interesting. Never had to deal with house repairs, so we'll see how that goes. So I just did one coat. I don't show you, but I do a coat on both sides. So once that's dry, I flip it over and do the other side. I wanted to just make sure it was reinforced on both sides, kind of seal those holes back up. And then what are you going to do with it, you ask? Well, I had no plans, but of course we have to make it into something. So I'm feeling it. You see, it's really rough. It has a gross texture. I'm honest. It just doesn't feel good to your hands. But we'll deal with that in a minute. I decide it could be a journal, like one of those tall kind of journals. So I took a standard sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, to see how it would fit inside there. And I think I'm going to need, because that's a 12 by 12. It shrunk a little bit with the trimming, but it's going to need a little bit more trimming. I guess I decided 11 inches was too long, so I cut it down a little bit. And that's just a scrap piece of paper that I'm using to decide what I want to do. I do take a little bit off of the top and the bottom. I guess, yeah. And there's no exact measurements here, I don't think. Yeah, I'm just playing it by ear, right? Just saying, okay, I like this, let's do this. And then, of course, the sides were flapping over too much, so they're getting a trim down. And I'm kind of balancing it on both sides, just so those edge pieces are even, I guess. And then deciding which side I want to be the front and the back, and which side I want to be the inside. Okay, so now that's all figured out. I do want the corners round, so I'm using the larger corner rounder. I know I keep like putting the inside in and folding it over, but I keep having to tell myself this is gonna work. This is gonna work. So then I decide, well, let's vintage it up even more, and I take out vintage photo and just go around the edges. I was trying to just distress them a bit. I have the sponge. I know I have the old rectangular applicator, but it does have a sponge on the end. Not the fun dome ones, but just the flat ones. As I was doing this, I was like, oh, I need to invest in the scorched timber. I want to try that color. All right. So when you're collaging onto a 3D object, to get the bumps out to like smooth around round spaces, you use a stone. And I thought, well, maybe rubbing it with the stone would make it smoother. So I didn't show you the whole thing, but I rubbed the whole thing with the stone. Took quite a while. It was a little bit smoother, but it still wasn't quite what I wanted. And then I decided maybe if I rub it with wax, it would be even better. And this does make it feel better. It feels a lot better with the polished with the wax. I didn't do it on the inside. Maybe that'll get covered up, but at least the outside cover feels better. Because it was feeling kind of gross. It just wasn't tactile. It was just, yeah, it's like nylon canvasy sort of feel. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to do 3 signatures in here, and I'm going to sew them in sorta. So I have an old piece of file folder, and I have bookbinding tape, which is the nylon-y kind. I don't like it, so I've got to use it up, right? And then I can get gaffer tape, which I've heard is much better. So I'm just laying this down. This is to help reinforce this, if it needed it, just in case it needs it. I don't know. To make it brown so it matches better. I don't know what my thoughts were at the time. All right, I'm going to divide it into 3 so that I have lines for each of my signatures. So I'm drawing a line across there so that when I go to sew, I can line up my signatures. And I'm just going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And I'm taking that paper that I've been using as my measuring guide and folding it. So I fold it in half. And then I just fold in 1 inch on either side. And that's going to be my guide for punching the holes into my signatures. And I'm not very good at demoing this. It's always awkward for me. I don't know. I mean, it's not a difficult technique. I just have a hard time showing it under a camera. All right. So we're going to put that inside the first signature. I'm going to line it up and actually end up, I want everything in there really tight. And the signatures are made up of old encyclopedia pages and some of my coffee dyed papers that I did for a journal last year. I still have some of that left over. So I figured those would be good for this journal. Okay, so I've got my holes punched. I got to take out my little guide. Set that aside, and then we're going to start with the center, I believe. So yes, and I measured out my thread. And I'm using waxed linen thread that's made for bookbinding. I bought a little kit on Amazon at one point, and it has the thread, and I think it came with the awl. I'm using a pokey tool. The awl is sitting there to the side. I use my pokey tool more often because I feel like the awl makes it kind of big. So I'm going through the signature and through my little file folder, and then I want to secure that end so that I don't accidentally pull it all the way through. And then come up through the signature there. And then we're going to go all the way to the bottom. Go past that one, the middle, and go to the bottom. Come out and then go through the file folder piece as well. So what this does is it's going to put all my signatures on that file folder piece, and then I will glue that into my cover. Then I don't have stitches on the outside of my cover. Not that that's a bad thing. So when you're coming up through the center, you want to make sure you don't stick your needle through the thread that's already there, or you won't be able to tighten your thread. So you have to be really cautious. That's what I'm trying to do, is be careful. All right. So I want to make sure everything is snug. And I have one thread on one side and one on the other. And then I'm just going to tie a knot over the thread that went across. And there we go. And you could do this with the thread on the outside, especially with a hidden binding, because then you wouldn't have the knot or anything. You'd just have the thread going across. At the time, I didn't think of that. So I did go ahead and put the other two in. Like I said, it's very awkward, and especially when you're sewing it into something like that, it makes it even more awkward. So now I'm going to glue this into the cover. And I'm just using glitter glue. I'm not sure, I've used Fabri-Tac before, and I've used Elmer's before, but I really like glitter glue. It's my glue of choice lately. All right, so I'm going to center it, make sure I'm putting everything in the center. And I'm just eyeballing it. I didn't measure. I just eyeballed. Just going between the signatures and pushing it all down to make sure it stays. And the best thing to do at this point is to put a little weight on it and leave it. Don't keep going. Unlike myself, who I just keep going. I had the doily in one of the signatures, but it was kind of long and it stuck way out. So I decided I would use that as kind of the end pages. And I wanted to cover up that green. So I want to use up this bookbinding tape. So I'm going to put bookbinding tape on either side. And I think that just makes it look better because, the brown and the green, and I don't know. I just think it looks better that way. And then I'm going to put some down at the bottom and the top as well. Just because the bookbinding tape was landing like right on the edge of the green and it was kind of coming up. So I figured if I put a little piece down there, then it would keep it down better. That was the idea anyway. When you're using Mamagami, remember you're kneading that with oil or lotion. Some people use conditioner. Your paper is very oily. Mine does have a layer of matte medium, so it's not quite as oily, but that can resist the glue. See, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. And then I realized what I could do. Okay. Just going to lift up the signature, lay one side down with the sticky. And I just decided, lift the whole thing up and stick it. There we go. It's under. Okay. I think I turn it around and do the same thing at the top end. I just start it and then lift the whole thing up. Just tuck it under. And that's still holding, so I mean, there's good adhesive on that bookbinding tape. Because I didn't add glue, I just stuck it down. Same thing here, just stuck it on. Let it do its thing. And so see, I have this doily and it's just a little too long. So I'm going to trim it down and yeah, it's going to be my end papers. I'm just measuring. Now that I've got this done, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to put inside of it. I already have my journal for 2024. I do have a trip coming up. This could possibly be my travel journal, maybe. I think it's got plenty of pages. I just counted them. So each signature has 10 sheets of paper folded in half. So 10 times 3 is 30, folded in half is 60. That's 60 pages. And that's not counting each side, that's pages. So if you did each side, that'd be 120. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah. And it's just got random, random stuff in there. A few pieces of printed paper that I had hanging out. I figured I would add to them just to use them up. My darn glue. I have to unclog it every once in a while. I think once it reaches a certain stage of evaporation in the bottle, it gets a little thicker and it clogs a little easier. I'm hoping I've given it enough glue to hold it together. I didn't go over every single line, but hopefully that will be enough. There we have my end paper. So that's the book. And then I decided I have all this fabric. I need to create a closure or a wrap or something, right? So I'm just training the book to be round. And it does feel weird. Like, I picked it up today and I created it, a week or so ago, and it still feels a little weird. But the outside does feel better than the inside. I'll put some close-up pictures of it at the end so you can see, I don't know, the texture of it maybe. All right, so I have this. I cut it too short. I just grabbed a chunk of it and I'm like, that'll work. Yeah, look. Cut it too short. But I'm not going to waste it. So what I do with the ribbon is I cut it lengthwise in half. Well, I tear it because it tore. And then I put a hole in the end, one end of each of the, and you can't see me doing this, I'm really sorry. But I put a hole in the end of each of the pieces, and then I'm just going to chain them together. So I put the ends of either one in the hole. There we go. Now I have a long piece of fabric. And maybe I'll put a charm or something that will cover up that sort of connection. Because it's an odd connection. Probably didn't need to make the hole that big. But there we go. There it is. So what do you think? Do you like my book? It turned out okay. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.